This is Doctor Talks, real talk from real doctors on the issues that matter to you most.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Prostate Cancer Summit. I am your host, Dr. Gio Espinoza, and it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Soum Rakshit, who is the co-founder and CEO of MysteryVibe. He did his PhD in Biomedical Engineering and created a startup in eye recognition, which was acquired by a U.S. defense company. He then spent 7 years in management consulting on large technology projects. In 2014, Soum started MysteryVibe to bring defense electronics and medical expertise together and create devices that solve big topics in sexual health in an accessible way. Dr. Rakshit, thank you so much for being on the summit.
Thank you so much for having me.
My first question has to be, so you did this, you've done other, as a biomedical engineer, you were involved in eye recognition technology. So congratulations on that and getting that bought out. That's great. And then you were involved in other projects. Seems serious, not that sexuality is not. And then you said, wait a minute, there's an opportunity here for sexual health, prostate health. I have one of your products here called Malto, which is like a prostate massager. It's great for many patients who have their prostate intact. I got to ask you, why? Were you having issues with your sexuality? Why? Typically, right, one's own issues, psychotherapists or psychiatrists had issues growing up and they become psychiatrists. You don't have to disclose everything if you did, by the way. You don't have to be detailed, but why get into this field?
So when we finished our last company, which was in ophthalmology, eye recognition, all of us knew that we would want to do something again in biomedical. Yeah, because it's what we studied, it's what we love. We did want to get some experience outside. That's why I spent a bit of time in consulting to learn business, project management, very basic things that you don't really learn as an academic, as a PhD. So, but throughout that time, we had that in an eye out for what is the next healthcare topic that affects us and enough people, but not enough work is being done. Yeah. So, as an alternative example, let's say, if we looked at breast cancer, which is very important, has affected, people we know, but there's a huge amount of work being done. Yeah. And we didn't really think we could add value. Whereas where we looked at things like, say, menopause, seeing my mom go through it, hysterectomy, my sister going through it, just talking to colleagues, or say pelvic pain after childbirth, talking to colleagues about erectile dysfunction. And so things that are very common, yet not, at least 10 years ago when we started, not talked about publicly at all. So that was kind of the funnel that gave us the answer is, yes, we want to use our biomedical expertise in another area of healthcare, but where we felt we could add the maximum value was where there was a huge patient population and not enough solutions.
I love it. And I tell you, we were talking before we started recording, right? And I only, through the summit, through my podcast, anything that has to do with my name next to it, I only affiliate myself, connect myself with legitimate companies that have science, that are serious about what they're doing, they're serious about their product. Initially, there are many companies that come to me with, this prostate massager, this thing for the penis, and it's like all, to me, is gimmicky. It might be okay, but it's just gimmicky and not just a good product. You guys are obsessed with the science of your products and MysteryVibes. So tell me a little bit about that, about what goes into creating, well, we can talk about Malto or any other products, just so that the audience knows. This is a prostate cancer summit, right? Sometimes men listening will not have a prostate because they'll have their prostate removed. But those that still have a prostate, for example, intact, perhaps on active surveillance even, they can benefit well, let me just come back. There are many patients that I see who have both. They're on active surveillance. They also have prostatitis at the same time, inflammation of the prostate, pelvic pain that's caused by that. Prostate massage is important and really useful and therapeutic. Doctors are not going to do it. So the audience needs to know off the back, doctors are not going to do. It's good. It used to be done all the time. I did it early on in my career. I just don't do it as much anymore. So the fact that you have this tool now that patients can just do on their own, that's legitimate. It's not too big, right size and everything. It's so great for men who have the prostate issues or pelvic pain issues from the prostate. The other products that I prescribed yesterday to a patient it's called Tenuto, I think, where it kind of helps with venous leak. This is for patients. Again, so here we have a patient with prostate after prostate cancer treatment that then they're still able to be sexually active. They go flaccid in the middle of intercourse. Your product, Tenuto, there's two types, can be very helpful. So go into more detail in terms of the products that you offer, particularly in men with prostate and prostate cancer history, and how they can help them.
Yeah. So what we do is fundamentally deliver vibration, wherever it's needed. So like with erection, vibration on the perineum, and the glans, the penis shaft. For prostate pain relief, vibration on the prostate. And similarly, pelvic pain would be pelvic floor. So at a fundamental level, we do something quite simple. And the reason I say that is there is 100 years of clinical literature on vibration, on the application of vibration in sexual health. So, and that was one of the reasons why we picked it, we are not trying to invent the underlying science, because that would be really long. To prove a new model is effective is a 10+ year research exercise. So we were looking at it as what science is irrefutable, is definitely works, enough evidence, and how can we deliver that in a very user-friendly way. So where we come in is making sure the vibration frequency, the vibration amplitude, which is how powerful it is, and the malleability, the flexibility is the right amount where you can reach wherever you need to reach, whether it's prostate, vagina, penis, perineum, wherever it is that you need to deliver the vibration, you can easily do that on your own without needing help. And that is really the summary of all of our device and our tech. And how we do that is we design and configure the motors in order to get the right frequencies. We design every material. So it could be a composite. So Tenuto, for example, is a stretchy material, which is a mixture of resin, polymers, plastics, and infused with moisture, and then encapsulated in overmolded silicone, so it retains that. So no matter how many times you stretch it, it will always come back and maintain its tensile strength. So, and then, for example, our pelvic pain device, which is Crescendo, has hinges, which is very similar to the design of a laptop. So the laptop screen you can put up, but it won't fall down. But equally, it's quite easy to move. So the same concept is it's very easy to bend to reach the pelvic floor and pinpoint the vibration exactly where you need. But equally, you can easily bend it with your hand without much effort. So what we try to do is, and quickly talking about Molto. So Molto is similar to the bendy bedside lamps. Yeah. And it's made of steel inside, so it's incredibly strong. And just like the lamps, you can bend it and it will hug the rectum as you insert it and reach the prostate. So where we come in is we look at technology that exists in different parts. It's nothing to do with med tech. It can be any tech. Yeah, and we try to see if we can use that tech in delivering what the doctors are asking us to build. So, for example, like you said, that a doctor could use their finger to reach the prostate and massage it. And then equally, if we were doing it with technology, how would we figure that out? What kind of materials, what kind of combinations of stuff do we need to build in order to recreate exactly what that patient care routine would be.
That's excellent. How long does it take to me, it sounds like, wow, before going to market, it must take a serious amount of time to create a product, right? Testing, retesting, probably getting feedback from experts in the field. What does that process look like before you come out with a specific product?
Yeah.
How long does it take, and what goes into it?
So I would say 3 years would be the minimum for
from an idea to an
from
actual
an idea to, yes, if everything goes well, which it never does.
Right.
So so basically we would say we start with concepting, then we get feedback. Then the key thing is dimensions, really understanding, what's the 80% or 90% dimensions that we need to address. And if we can't do that, and this is a really important point, because when we say, for example, with Tenuto, very beginning, we tried to address 90% of penis girths and it was too big. So it didn't work for a lot of people. So then we realized we can only address 80%. So the dimensions matter a lot. And so once we have figured out what's the maximum we can address, which does mean that the remaining patient population won't benefit from it, but it is, one of those trade-offs we have to accept. Then we start doing just internal building, in our labs, using our own plastic, silicon, 3D printing machines, PCB machines. So we do everything in-house for, let's say a year of iterating. Then at the end of that, once we are semi-confident that this is, potentially a good product, we don't know that yet, then we will get the initial units manufactured. The reason for doing that is we can't really do any patient trials unless it's manufactured to a medical grade, which we can't do in our labs with 3D prints. So it is a very slow, iterative, and expensive process, but it's the only process. It's the only way. So once we get to a manufactured unit and we go through compliance, then it's safe to use, but it's no guarantee that it's effective. And we've had products, we've got to that point, everything, it looks beautiful, and we run a trial and it's not very useful. And we have to scrap it. There's no point. If it's going to fail at the trial and then you try to sell it because you've spent money, you just kill your credibility. So we would then go back to the drawing board, and then at least we've got a lot of feedback. And then in most cases, you have to start from scratch. So then that's why I said 3 years is the best case scenario. Sometimes it takes 5, more. So at the end of that process, let's say, the trials went well, the patient feedback is good, the outcome is great. Then we would do not that many, maybe 5 to 10,000 units, in order to get enough feedback, because a patient trial is never more than, say, a few hundred maximum, but you want, say, 10,000. And the only way you can do that is release version 1, which I guess is no different from, say, Apple Watch 1 or iPhone 1.
Yeah.
It is good. Or more recently, the goggles, the Vision, this is version 1.
Right.
It's a good product, but it's, I'm sure in version 5 will be amazing compared to.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
So for hardware,
the line goes, great is the enemy of good sometimes, right? You just need to get the product out, and that's better than I go through that. You'll appreciate this. I write, and it's never good enough. It's never, but it's like, Gio, get off your head. Like, this is way better than anything else that's out there and is going to help people, right? So it's that kind of thinking.
Exactly that. So then version 1 is the best we think we can get to before we had high volume of feedback. And often high volume of feedback comes back with things like, can you make the buttons better, which we thought were good enough, or, according to the initial testing said, the buttons are fine. But when you look at a much wider range of patient population, say, somebody in their 80s who have dexterity issue, and they might not find the buttons to be fine, right? So which didn't come up in our cohort. So we get a lot of examples, which is not necessarily major, but sometimes we do get major feedback, which we have missed. And in those cases, we would, then make a version 2. Instead of just making improvements to the current product, we would then start from scratch and make a new product. So I think, like 3 years is a good estimate that we set ourselves, is like, we will get it we'll design it, we'll get it manufactured, we'll get through clinical trials, we'll get through our regulatory approvals, and then we'll get it into the hands of a user. That's the whole process within 3 years.
Well, that's why I know you have competitors. I don't know your industry too well, but I know you have competitors that they probably get a product out without it being well tested, without knowing if it's really useful and valuable to the consumer within a very short period of time, probably less than a year. I see these companies, and they approach me all the time. So I think there again, that sets you guys apart. You're in the long game. You want to make sure you get it right. And I get the sense by talking to you and members of your team that there's sort of an obsession with getting the product right and getting it better and making it better and better and better. And I tell you, as a practitioner who sees a lot of men, I appreciate that. I appreciate the work and effort that you guys do behind your product.
Thank you. Well, all of it is thanks to the urologists, OBGYNs, andrologists, pelvic floor therapists, because really what we do is just build what they tell us to build. So the real knowledge comes from the clinicians, and we try and figure out what's the best way we can deliver what they need for their patients.
And lovely. Again, people are anyone can create something without talking to experts and still, have a little angle or marketing angle. And then, that's not legitimate, not valuable, and just not a good product. So I really appreciate what you guys do. So the way I looked at your product list and I said, well, for patients with prostate cancer who, they have to be able to get an erection. Many patients sometimes don't get an erection after prostate cancer treatment, but many do. I think for example, your Tenuto is very helpful. Are there any other products that I'm missing that might be helpful for men after prostate cancer to optimize let's say, the sexuality?
So you're absolutely right. So Tenuto 2 is the best multi-vibratory device, which creates a lot of stimulation. But if, let's say, they have a sensitive perineum or they don't want stimulation on the scrotum, then Tenuto Mini would be an equally good product. It is
Tenuto
much lighter.
Mini.
So
there's
yes,
Tenuto,
much smaller. Yeah.
Right. So there's Tenuto, just Tenuto period, and then
Tenuto 2, because it's
2.
a new version. Yeah.
So Tenuto 2, my understanding is everybody wins. So the patient or the person, the male patient, and the partner, because it also stimulates the partner as well. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So, and it's so funny because we started Tenuto 2 work almost 10 years ago. And what happened over the years is a lot of the partners of the customers who bought Tenuto 2 were using the front part of Tenuto 2 to stimulate the labia, their clitoris, in order to get arousal, in order to get wetness. But we didn't design it to be used separately because it sits on the penis and it's used to stimulate the labia and clitoris during intercourse. So it wasn't the most convenient use case because they had to hold the back bit, which typically vibrates really powerfully. So as a result of that feedback, we created Legato, it's like a O-shaped device, which adapts to the shape of the labia and stimulates the labia and the clitoris and gives a 360 very tailored stimulation to do exactly what the partners of the patients were trying to do with Tenuto, but much, much better. So it is fascinating how we get told by doctors and patients what to build next. And that's what drives all of our product development.
Amazing. Dr. Soum Rakshit. Am I pronouncing? I thought I was.
No, you're perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Dr. Soum Rakshit, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this information. I have to thank also Susan Bratton, who exposed me to your product. She is also on this summit, and she mentioned a few products. And I have to say, when we talked about, hey, she mentioned a few products. And when she said, well, what's a legit product here that, I can put my name on? She says, Malto and MysteryVibes, they're the company. And I'm super grateful to her. And I'm super grateful to meet you and to work with you in the future. How can people find out more about Mystery Vibes and final words if you have any?
And to our medical site, which has all the information that we were talking about, is mv.health. So MV as a Mystery Vibe, v.health, very short. And final point is very much education, really. At the end of the day, that's our main goal, is how do we create awareness? How do we create education for something as simple, like you were saying, is regular prostate massage helps the prostate. It reduces the chances of prostate cancer. It improves or maybe even completely solves prostatitis. And not many people, outside people who follow urologists and listen to podcasts or read the right newspapers, not many people are aware of the solutions, which are often quite simple. So yeah, my hope is that there is a lot more education, and we obviously do a lot, and we want to do a lot of that, and for everybody in attending the summit to go and tell their friends about it. Just more awareness on prostate. It is now the number one cancer in the country, I think. Isn't it 1 in 6 men?
Particularly in men, yeah.
Yeah, it is 1 in 6 men, I think. And then that's what's diagnosed. It might be more.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks again. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the summit with us. Everyone, thank you for watching this yet another amazing, I know I say this after everyone, but it just gets better and better. This amazing conversation with an expert in a field. This is a scientist. This is not just somebody, in a garage basement. Nothing against people who are creating things in garages. I know many companies start there, but this is a scientist, biomedical engineer, who take the science very serious in creating their products, great products that bring a lot of value to men before prostate cancer, even after prostate cancer. So thanks so much for watching. Keep tuning in, because we have more to come. This is Dr. Gio Espinoza signing off. I'll see you at the next episode. So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Doctor Talks. We hope today's episode has enlightened and inspired you on your path to optimal health. Each day is a new opportunity to make choices that empower your well-being. For more insights and strategies, subscribe to our podcast and visit our website, www.drtalks.com. Stay connected, stay healthy, and join us next time on Doctor Talks, real talks from real doctors on the issues that matter to you most.